competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Welcome everybody to Late Night Cooking. Today with Nils-Erik, and my name is Veronica Cyanox, and I will definitely not be the one cooking today. But Nils-Erik, please tell us what you're gonna show for us today, and what your passion is.
One of my passions is to promote old ancient foods, old crops that have been used in the past, that are healthy, easy to grow, and so on, but that have been forgotten, more or less forgotten in our today's society with a lot of processed fast food and so on.
So and one example today would be?
Example today that we're going to focus on, one of the two examples is what we in Sweden call kålrot, and it's in England and the US called rutabaga or swede. And it's a crop that was very common up until the beginning of the 20th century, grown by many people, easy to grow, it gives a high yield, and but has today almost become forgotten. We don't use it very much today, but it's worth promoting again in these times of food sovereignty and trying to produce our own food.
So how come you come into this area of wanting to use the old foods or grains, crops?
Well, we need to diversify our foods. We're very dependent today on a handful of crops, and there's a lot of nutrients in these and minerals and so on in these old crops, so that are good for us, and we need to preserve them for many reasons. Biodiversity is one, genetic diversity one. So we're also we eat a lot of wheat today in the Western world, and we eat less rye and oats. Rye and oats are to a large extent used either for alcohol or for animal feed, but they're also very good for using for different foods, which we've also largely forgotten.
Do you also use barley flour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to use barley also, which is definitely a crop that's today almost only used for animal feed, but was very common. It was one of the staple cereals before wheat, actually, for a long time. So my idea today is to try to combine some of these old varieties of cereals. We have lots of old varieties also that are almost going extinct because they're not grown commercially, to try to promote some of these old types of varieties of barley and rye, and mix the flour with kålrot, rutabaga. That's what we're going to do this evening.
So you're going to show us one step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I could also say this work that I'm doing here, trying to promote these crops, is partly inspired by Kålrotsakademin, an academy in Sweden that is devoted to teaching about kålrot and other forgotten foods. So I'm also very inspired by the farmers around Sweden and here in Skåne, near where we are now in Lomma, who grow these old varieties. So what we're going to try to do now is to
Beautiful colors on it.
yeah.
So are we peeling this or?
We're not going to peel it because a lot of the nutrients are actually in the skin of this and in the outer peeling. So this have a lot of nutrients that are good. So we keep that.
So what do? We just wash it and just let it
Yeah,
like
you
it
can
is?
just rinse it. And then we grate it.
Oh. So with this recipe, you grate the whole
Yes.
rutabaga.
Yes, it is. And it doesn't matter if you don't manage to grate everything really fine. If there's some bigger pieces in it, that's fine too. So what we'll do now, we'll take this grated rutabaga, put it in here. We will add some of this rye flour, organic rye flour, to the grated rutabagas.
So if we grate one whole vegetable, and how much flour to one rutabaga?
You add the amount of flour so you see that it's being taken up by the rutabaga. It can vary depending on the variety and how dry the rutabaga is and so on. But you want the flour to fasten to the grated rutabaga here.
Okay, so you don't want any flour on the bottom.
You
Everything
don't want
should
any
just
flour
blend.
on the bottom,
Okay.
and we'll just add a pinch of salt also into this.
Yeah.
There. And it's
Mix it.
we're not going to do that now, but it's perfectly fine to let this sit also for a few hours, so it really the flour will soak into this.
So it should be like a little dry, flaky once you get the flour
yeah,
evenly
yeah.
distributed. Okay.
And then we also add some oil. This is canola oil. So all the three crops we're using tonight, rutabaga, rye flour and canola, all three are grown here in Sweden. So it's we're not dependent on any imported foods except for the salt, of course, in order to do this food, which is good in these times when we might have to increase our self-sufficiency of foods. So what we do now is we add some oil into this. Mix it all together.
Should I?
Yeah, sure. We can turn the oven on there, or the stove.
The stove. That I can contribute with. Medium heat or?
Medium heat,
medium?
yes.
Okay, you just mix the oil in. So it gets a nice
Wait
color
for
again.
this to-
And how much oil would you say?
Well, again, we want the oil to be able to soak into this. So
But not too much, so it's
not
runny.
too much, yeah.
Okay. Are we making patties of this, or is it just like a scramble, or what?
It's a
type
scramble, yeah.
It's a scramble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And the whole point of this is to make it simple to use these basic foods that we have around us that we can grow easily in Sweden. Very few of us, I'm not, very few of us are professional cooks. It's important that we feel that we can use these foods with the things we have at home in our kitchen, and that we can feel that we can make these foods part of our daily life. If we're not able to do that, they will remain endangered species grown only at some museum, which they shouldn't be. They should be common man's food.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see how this will turn out, because it seems very easy. You have just grated rutabaga and you have barley flour and then salt and oil.
Yes.
And now
Rye flour this evening.
Oh yeah, we were using rye today, yeah. So, and then you just fry it in the pan.
Yeah.
So easy enough for
Easy
me
enough.
that don't like to cook. Maybe you can convince me to do this at home too.
I hope I can, yeah.
So anything is possible. I might be cooking this at home, and you are now a professional chef since you have your own cooking show right now.
Okay. And I would also say it's possible to test your own mixes of flour. The only flour I find really that doesn't work very well into this, it more turns into dough. It's fine white flour. That becomes, as I said, more like a dough, and that's not what we want to do here.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why that's the case, but that's what
Not
I
with
found.
gluten or anything, maybe.
Yeah,
But it's more-
and wheat flour
Has more.
is high in gluten.
Yeah.
Just let this. While this is getting warm, we can just say that rutabaga in Sweden was for decades, it was a staple food that was used commonly in school kitchens, and was mainly cooked there in the same way, and that's the only way that my generation and many before me today know of how this crop can be used.
Do you mean rotmos in Swedish?
Rotmos, yeah.
Does that only consist of rutabaga, or is it potatoes and this, or are there different kinds of?
I'm not exactly sure, but as I understood, the main component in rotmos was kålroten. And it was strict. You were supposed to eat your school lunch. You did not you didn't have any say what was served.
Yeah.
And I never did, but many people disliked school food, and this common rotmos is something people remember from school lunches. They felt they were more or less forced to eat.
Yeah.
So it's therefore become kind of acquired a bad reputation, even though you can do so much more with kålrot than rotmos.
Yeah.
So that's one of the original aims of founding this Kålrotsakademin, was to try to again help create a better reputation for kålrot, and then other crops too, and other foods that are more or less forgotten. So now it's getting warm here.
We can hear the lovely sound.
Yeah. And then for how long it has to be fried here is kind of up to.
Is it supposed to get a color to it, or is it just supposed to be softer?
I would say the
Not-
color really doesn't change that much.
Okay.
And it's up to each and every one of us to kind of decide how long it has
You
to
can
be
taste
fried.
along the way and see when
Taste
you're.
along the way, yeah.
Smells nice. I don't know what I can compare it to.
If you don't have anything but, I mean, you can fry kålrot without anything but maybe oil and some water, and kålrot has a very distinct smell. That is very typical of this rotmos that was served in schools.
But I think almost this smells better than rotmos does.
And that's what
me,
I feel
yeah,
too.
yeah,
It has
yeah.
a better smell than that, yeah. And once it starts sticking like this, I kind of feel now it's getting ready, because of course we don't want to over fry it.
Yeah.
We want
Keep
to
the nutrients.
keep the nutrients, exactly.
Yeah, it got a little bit color.
Yeah, and I think
little
also
darker,
having,
but,
as we were discussing before, leaving some of the peels also gives it, not peeling it gives it some
Yeah.
greenish color here.
Yeah.
So I would say we're pretty much done here now.
Yeah.
You can take it at the side there and turn the stove off.
So we just eat from the pan. Isn't that the best way?
If you're really hungry, you can eat from the pan, and
You want?
absolutely. I mean,
Maybe we can be careful. It keeps falling off. I'm not good at this. Okay. Is it safe to eat? Or did you burn your tongue? No? It's very nice consistency too. It's not soft, like soft spaghetti.
No.
It's not mushy like potato would be. Almost like, is it called cabbage? Vitkål, kind of. In the consistency, maybe?
Maybe, and I mean, this is there's all possibilities of developing this and mixing other foods into it, such as cabbage and mushrooms and so, if you wish to do so.
Yeah.
But I really hope that this could become a common food again this way. And
So what is would you say the purpose of this food? Is it like a, not like, is it the main course, or is it a side dish kind of? Do you eat it with meat or something, or is this the main course, would you say? Or is it depending on what you mix in it, or what's the original idea with this?
well, I would say as we've in the last century eaten less or less rutabaga and red beets and other beets. I mean, there's a great variety of different beets that we have grown and can eat that are very good. We've instead eaten more and more potatoes. That's a trend that's also declined, but we still eat a lot of potatoes in Western European countries. And
Potatoes are lovely.
potatoes
In
are
any form.
lovely, but they're also high in sugar. And maybe they should be balanced towards other crops too, other root crops. So I would like to say that if it's common for us to have potatoes as part of our daily dish, we can instead say we should have some of our root crops on the dish. Could be potatoes, it could be rutabagas, it could be red beets. Let's together help create a greater variety of root crops, which again are what give us actually the highest yield of all the crops that we can grow on this up here in the north. There's nothing we can
It's
grow.
a very
because
hardy
it's hardy,
thing to
and it can
to
be
grow.
stored also
Yeah.
throughout the winter without actually any excess electricity or cooling or anything. If you have the good storage facilities, you can. If you have,
So if you're a prepper, you should prep with a lot of rutabaga
yes,
in your cellar.
well, we should all, in the times that are now, we should all try to become preppers, and it doesn't have to be so hard. All we have to do is grow more root crops.
Yeah.
That's the best prepping we could do.
But this the same? They are totally different colors.
These could very well be different varieties. I'm not sure. It's always these are bought in a local supermarket here,
Okay.
which might
Could
have
be
got.
mixed.
They could be
different-
mixed
yeah.
varieties, yeah.
But there's still beautiful. I mean, it's both green, purple.
But I mean, there are also farms that sell this directly, where you can ask or know exactly what variety it is, or you can buy seeds where the variety also is stated and grow your own. It's fun to grow, and it's fun to experiment and to develop new foods.
Is this a good garden crop?
If you have the right soil, it can be a very good crop, yeah. And so it's should be a more soft soil. Not if you have heavy clay, I wouldn't recommend it. But there are, in most parts of Sweden, you can find areas or soil somewhere in your community where you can grow these. Often in valleys with a lot of organic matter.
Okay.
There should be good possibilities for all of us, at least in Sweden, to find a place somewhere fairly close to where we live. Maybe not in our own yard, but fairly close to where we live, where we can grow this. And if you're not sure where that place would be, ask older people who used to grow these crops as a child and so on. Or look at old photos and maps where people were growing their own foods 50, 60, 70 years ago. And you'll pretty soon figure out there are a few spots in the community that are especially good for this.
But that's been very important for a lot of years now, that we want to look back how we did it back then, but we go forward with the new technology, but with the knowledge we have from the past.
Yeah. But that's also the advantage with this, that this is not a crop that requires that much technology to be grown. As is also the case with potatoes. You can grow and you can harvest it without any heavy equipment or machinery, if it's for your own use.
Exactly.
So thank you all for watching, and hope to see you all again, and maybe another late night food show here with maybe another variety of crops at that time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.